I said to the President, I've taken up his habit of having an iPad in front of him, and he approves. Very good. President Ramaphosa, Adrian Gore, who's made a special effort to be here as Deputy President of BUSA, Kulakane Mate, the CEO of BUSA, Business Unity South African, Adrian Enthoven, both a BLSA board member and the founder of Harambee, and the CEO of Harambee is also present. Gregory Mafokeng, Vice President of the Black Business Council, leaders, CEOs, and chairmen of participating YES companies and YES partners. I have to point out Daniel Manelli is here as the chairman of Nedbank. Members of the board of YES, mentioned already. Diplomats, I saw both the British High Commission and the European Union and others represented here. Top 35 award winners, Ravi Naidu, and all 83 YES staff members, ladies and gentlemen. We are gathered to celebrate an important milestone for the youth of South Africa. Business acting through the Youth Employment Service in partnership with the government under the President's leadership and all role players in the youth employment ecosystem can today announce that we have successfully placed over 200,000 youth in one-year paid internships on close on 2,000 South African businesses. YES has generated around 12 billion rand in salaries for these youth, provided invaluable training, mentorship, and work experience, and resulted in 40% of these YES youth being absorbed into full-time jobs in host companies. Mr. President, you'll recall Stephen and I didn't know what percentage would be absorbed into full-time jobs. We never imagined 40% would be the level. It's a very good result. In addition, around 15% of these youth have created their own small businesses. I call them micro businesses, in turn creating additional job opportunities for many. This has made YES one of the most consequential job creators in the South African economy today. I'm also pleased to tell you that the second 100,000 intern milestone was reached in half the time of the first 100,000. This is testimony to both YES firing up the engines of the organization and the tremendous partnership with government where we continuously work together to identify and remove obstacles whilst putting in place, refining and gazetting meaningful smart incentives such as the employment tax incentive and the BBBEE levels up for companies meeting YES targets. YES is therefore today, in the darkness of structural unemployment, a ray of light for the youth. This has been a patriotic effort by many over the years since we launched the Youth Employment Service with the President in March 2018. We must immediately call out and congratulate the champions, the companies that have led the way. Since inception, Nedbank, and I want you to listen very carefully, Nedbank and Shoprite have each taken over 15,000 interns. Yes, a thumping round of applause for them. Mr. President, Foschini, represented here, who've flown down from Cape Town to be here, Toyota and Mercedes-Benz have each taken on between 4,700 and 6,000 interns. In the lifetime of YES, Investec, Volkswagen, Absa, Bidvest, BMW, and Anglo-American Platinum, now known as Volterra, have each taken over 3,000 interns. And Motus, Ford, Spar, Eskom, MultiChoice, Telesure, Nestle, Famous Brands, Safripol, Sage, and Discovery, each between 1,000 and 3,000 interns. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our 22 YES Lifetime Champion companies, many represented here, who have each contributed in excess of 1,000 interns, making up 44% of our 200,000 total. Without the commitment and leadership of these companies, YES would not be able to stand proudly in front of you tonight. I think we need a standing ovation. Thank you. May I sit down? Yet, Mr. President, we must temper our joy at breaching this milestone by reminding ourselves of the desperate plight of the unemployed youth in South Africa. Yes, for each of these 200,000 lives changed for the better by YES, we are all too aware of the multiple lives dashed by the failure of our society to provide enough economic opportunity, the dignity of a work experience, and a closing of doors in the face of every effort by the youth to open them. These doors slamming in the face of 12.5 million unemployed, of which 69% are youth, is the biggest threat to our constitutional democracy today. I know, Mr. President, that you spend all your waking time focused on this critical issue of youth unemployment. And indeed, you were the person who called out to business leadership, to Stephen Kossef and myself, at the union buildings in 2016 to take on this challenge. I remember it clearly as of yesterday, walking through the union building auditorium, discussing the matter. YES was a dream then. It is common cause that the sustainable solution to ending structural unemployment is massive job creation through stimulating economic growth, and that in order to absorb the current net 300,000 entrants into the economy each year who cannot find jobs, we need a minimum of 3% growth per annum. In fact, to create a tidal wave of additional jobs to add to the current 17.1 million employed in South Africa, what is required is then to precipitate the decline in the unemployment rate and economic growth of closer to 5% per annum. This we know well. It is to be welcomed that today we can agree, Mr. President, that green shoots are now appearing in the economy after a decade and a half of disappointing growth of only 1%. The stabilization of government debt, upgrade in the sovereign rating, albeit to 2 notches below investment grade, the FATF grey listing being lifted, the introduction of a 3% inflation target, which has seen a drop in bond yields and a strengthening of the currency, steady improvements at Eskom, and early signs of the same at Transnet are all most welcome indicators of a potential turnaround of our economic fortunes. This is good news for confidence, investment, and ultimately job creation. Mr. President, in the business community, the signs of this turnaround are palpable and the excitement is palpable. For this sentiment to be sustained, however, and proven to be real for those outside the economic mainstream, in particular the jobless, we, business, government, and civil society, I believe, need a coalition of willing patriots to unite on 3 fronts. Firstly, a common single-minded effort to drive much higher rates of productivity, investment, and economic growth. Key here is a deep and probing exercise to cut wasteful, consumptive state expenditure and recycle budget savings into high multiplier productive investment, such as supporting SARS, micro-enterprise grants, and capacitating the NPA, to make our national budget work harder for taxpayers and all South Africans. Also key is ensuring our industrial policy defends jobs currently under attack, such as amongst our client base in the automotive sector, using incentives, subsidies, and even, yes, tariffs to protect the competitiveness of local manufacturing. I suspect that was led by the manufacturing of autos. At the same time, this policy should support new investment and opening the growing African market seamlessly to investors and act to bring down the cost of doing business. Functioning and well-priced logistics and energy infrastructure is a necessary, though insufficient, condition for confidence, investment, and growth. Ongoing efforts in this regard are welcome, even if more boldness and speed must be encouraged. Secondly, crime and corruption is the enemy of a functioning job-creating economy. I know you will agree, Mr. President, that at the heart of our war on unemployment must be a battle plan to target and eliminate organized crime, corruption, and incompetence wherever it is found. The Madlanga Commission is exposing the attempts by criminal elements to infiltrate the state. These attempts at criminalization of the state, like state capture, represent a clear and present danger to business, to workers, to the jobless, because it threatens to slow economic activity, inflates the cost of public services, and robs honest South African citizens of a functioning economy that employs and provides income to millions. Yes, it is true that joblessness and inequality creates conditions for a rising crime. Yet there is no more urgent task if we are to defeat unemployment and inequality than ensuring the overhaul of related law and order institutions such that the full might of the law is brought against gangsters, the corrupt, and the various mafias extorting our economy. You are allowed to clap, by the way. 3, smartly optimizing our position in Africa and in the world. Mr. President, your masterful leadership at the G20 made us proud and set the stage for us to build further. I have called before for economic diplomacy to lead our foreign policy, because where we may not succeed on every geopolitical stage, we can find friends and win hearts and minds amongst investors, leading companies, financial institutions, as sources of technology, innovation, and capital. Throughout capitals of the world, Africa is increasingly seen as the next frontier of global growth. This the title of my course I teach at Columbia Business School. And South Africa, despite being a small economy on the world stage, is one of Africa's primary engine rooms. Smart global economic diplomacy is the route to attracting investment into South Africa, and with almost half of the world's economy in the United States and China, we need to turn up the dial on economic diplomacy in these and all G20 nations. This is crucial to our economic growth prospects. So in summary, Mr. President, as co-chairman of YES, I can confidently share with you that we believe uniting around driving much higher economic growth, cracking down on lawlessness wherever it occurs, and employing smart economic diplomacy on the global stage is a combined recipe to sustain this current promising turnaround and produce conditions for the creation of millions of jobs for our people and our youth. We look forward to the day where YES is no longer necessary as an institution, and we hope for that. In conclusion, we are proud of the almost 2,000 companies participating in YES, grateful to our implementation partners, and pleased to share with you that we have now created a robust and sustainable business-only funded and operated organization in partnership with the government that is determined to ramp up the quality, quantity, and speed of our internship program. We are also now providing our alumni youth with financial and other assistance to support the entrepreneurs emerging from our ecosystem, and hope to agree with you more areas of cooperation and further smart incentives to fast-track YES alongside government. With the right focus, Mr. President, we have the makings of a partnership that is setting world records, just like our rugby and cricket teams of late. We're waiting for Saturday for the India one day. On that note, wouldn't it be the ultimate sweet moment if Bafana wins the World Cup next year in New York, and you are there, you, Mr. President, are there to receive and lift the trophy from the President of the host country. We thank you, Mr. President, for your personal support from inception, your team's tireless dedication to working alongside us on our journey. A special thanks to Donne and Rudy in the audience. And we cannot thank the corporates enough who have joined hands with YES to pass the 200K mark. We now have much work to do. We must remove obstacles to speeding up our success. We must persuade the many companies who have not yet participated to do so. And Mr. President, the list is too long. And we must continue to design smart incentives linked to transformation, employment equity, and empowerment legislation to incentivize our companies to take in ever more YES youth for 1 year one-year internships. Transformation is the friend of the youth who want to be employed. We just have to be smart in how we design the transformation journey. Let us continue to do all we can to be the ray of light for our youth on their all too often troubled journey. I welcome you and thank you.